Welcome to Class 5 of Beginning Meditation. In today's class, we'll expand our awareness to include feeling tone. Feeling tone refers to the quality of being either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. I'll start with a word about the linguistics. The Pali term Vedana is commonly translated as feeling. I prefer feeling tone to avoid confusion. When we talk about our feelings, we're generally referring to our emotions. That's not what is meant here. Feeling tone refers to pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Every moment is accompanied by a feeling tone, and it arises early in the perception process. When the mind comes in contact with an object, feeling tone arises immediately, before our reaction. It happens so fast we often don't notice it, but it's always there. In an excellent commentary on the Satipatthana Sutta, which I referred to in an earlier class, a monk, the Venerable Analayo, discusses this. The name of the book is Satipatthana, the Direct Path to Realization. He writes, the Pali term for feeling is Vedana, derived from the term Vedati, which means both to feel and to know. In its uses in the discourses, Vedana comprises both bodily and mental feelings. Vedana does not include emotions in its range of meanings. They are more complex mental phenomena than bare feeling itself. Thus, to contemplate feelings means quite literally to know how one feels, and this with such immediacy that the light of awareness is present before the onset of reactions, projections, or justifications in regard to how one feels. The immediacy of feeling tone has profound implications. I agree with Venerable Analayo that it is feeling tone, rather than logic and rational thought, that dictates our behavior and attitudes. He writes, contemplation of feelings will reveal the surprising degree to which one's attitudes and reactions are based on this initial affective input provided by feelings. Sustained contemplation will reveal the fact that feelings decisively influence and color subsequent thoughts and reactions. In view of this conditioning role of feeling, the supposed supremacy of rational thought over feelings and emotions turns out to be an illusion. Logic and thought often serve merely to rationalize already existing likes and dislikes, which in turn are conditioned by the arising of either pleasant or unpleasant feelings. The initial stages of the perceptual process, when the first traces of liking and disliking appear, are usually not fully conscious, and their decisive influence on subsequent evaluations often passes undetected. That's a lot of food for thought, but for now I'll ask you to put your thinking aside and get situated for a guided meditation. Let's sit. As before, bring your awareness to the breath, and if a bodily sensation, emotion, or state of mind arises, bring your awareness to that bodily sensation, emotion, or state of mind. With your awareness on the breath, a bodily sensation, an emotion, or a state of mind, you may notice that your attention is drawn to a feeling tone. When that happens, bring your awareness to the feeling tone. Investigate the feeling tone. Is it pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? What is the nature of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral? Try not to react to the feeling tone. It's natural to desire pleasant feeling tones, to push away unpleasant ones, and to lose interest in neutral ones. Accept the feeling tone as it is, without wanting it to be anything different. If you notice that your awareness is not with the breath, not with a bodily sensation, not with an emotion, not with a state of mind, and not with a feeling tone, bring your awareness back to the breath. Today's Dhamma talk is on what is known as the three characteristics. We live in what can be called the conditioned world or conditioned reality. This stands in contrast to Nibbana or enlightenment, the unconditioned. All the phenomena in our conditioned world share three characteristics: impermanence, suffering, and not self. Let's talk about these. The Pali term for impermanence is anicca. Nothing is permanent. Everything passes. This is easy to understand intellectually, and we see it in all the activities of our life. We go to sleep, and then it ends and we wake up. We're hungry, and we eat, and the hunger passes, and the meal passes. We go to work, it ends, and we come home. We start conversations with people, and they end. We go to a movie, or a play, or a concert, and it ends. We also see this on a grander scale. We see as the seasons come and go. We know that the current political administration will eventually leave office. Our children will grow, leave the home, and eventually have children of their own. And of course, our lives will end. We also see this on a smaller, micro level. All the phenomena in our conditioned world, mental and physical, are constantly arising and passing away. According to the Buddha, phenomena arise and pass away millions, perhaps billions of times per second. It happens so fast that we don't see it. So objects appear solid and stable, but they're not. They're constantly arising and passing away. The goal, as with all the teachings, is to understand this experientially. And in many ways we do. When I watch a sunset, I'm profoundly moved by the transience. Sometimes when I eat the last bite of a meal, I feel sad. When we meditate, we're aware that the breath begins and it ends. We're also aware of the same with bodily sensations, with emotions, with states of mind, and with feeling tones. Everything arises and passes. The second characteristic is suffering, or dukkha. And we talked about suffering when we talked about the Four Noble Truths. In the first Noble Truth, we saw that suffering is everywhere. Because of impermanence, because everything is constantly arising and passing away, there's nothing to hold on to. Nothing that can give lasting satisfaction. Even those things that do give pleasure eventually end, leading to suffering. The third characteristic is not self. The Pali term is anatta. I remember the first time I came across this notion. It was a philosophy class in college. And I didn't understand it at all, but I was fascinated. Now, after 20 years of meditating and studying, I still don't really understand it. Not self is one of those things that in order to understand has to be understood experientially. And this is no small task. In fact, it's monumental. Understanding not self experientially is the breakthrough to Nibbana. In short, there is no enduring self. As we discussed, the phenomena in our conditioned world are constantly arising and passing. As a result, there's no abiding entity. There's nothing to grasp. There's nothing behind or beyond the phenomena. Buddhism rejects the notion of a soul. This may seem paradoxical because in order to function, we refer to self and we refer to objects. And the Buddha did this himself. But he did this with the understanding that it's simply a convention. It doesn't reflect ultimate reality. I understand this is counterintuitive, but it is central to the teachings. We'll finish the class with metta instruction. I mentioned metta in the last class. It's a Pali term for loving kindness. And metta practice involves sending loving kindness to other beings. There are different ways of approaching it, and today I'll just discuss one. You start by having an image of yourself where you're happy, perhaps smiling, and placing it in your mind. Then pick a phrase such as, "May I be happy," "May I be free from harm," or some other phrase, and repeat it internally every few seconds. You want it to be heartfelt. You can imagine physically placing the words in your heart and sending them out from there. If it's helpful, you can smile during metta meditation. At first this seems forced, but eventually it feels natural. After we've sent metta to ourselves for several sits, we then pick someone for whom we have very positive feelings, a teacher or a mentor. We want it to be someone who's not in the gender to which we're attracted, so sexual feelings don't arise. It's also important that this person still be alive. And you repeat the process. Then, once we're comfortable with this, we move on to a neutral person, a clerk at a store, or someone we encounter frequently but don't interact with. Again, repeat the process. Finally, when you're very comfortable with metta, you pick someone you're having difficulty with, perhaps someone you're angry at, and again, repeat the process. So this will be a shorter sit than we've been doing. And also, during metta meditation, you want to be comfortable. So go ahead and get situated while I reset the timer. Let's sit. Start by placing an image of yourself where you're happy, perhaps smiling, in your mind. Keep that image in your mind during the entire sit. Pick a phrase such as, "May I be happy," "May I be free from harm," or some other phrase, and repeat it internally every few seconds. Make it heartfelt. You might imagine physically putting the words in your heart and sending them out from there. You may find it helpful to smile during metta meditation. When I first started doing metta, it was very challenging. I didn't like it at all. I've worked very hard on it, including a 2-week retreat where I practiced metta during all my waking hours. It's now a regular part of my practice. It truly can be transformative. Your homework for next week is, in addition to your daily sit 1 time a day practicing metta for at least 5 minutes. As before, there's no upper limit to the amount of time you can practice. That ends class 5. I hope you have a productive, meditation-filled week.